Hi, everybody. I'm Jason Klom. I'm the host of the Comedy on Vinyl podcast. All 2017, I'm listening to a comedy album a day. I am big time playing catch up. So the albums I'm going to be talking about, well, there's a plethora of them here. I am playing catch up for a number of reasons. I was actually just in a show called A Drinking Game, which I do out here once a month. And I was in Clue. I played Mr. Green. Ton of fun. You guys should come see it. If you're in LA, we sell out every time very quickly, but you should come see it. And before I go too far, go to youtube.com/comedy on vinyl to watch the rest of this. And if you've been paying attention here, all of March, again, I've been doing them infrequently, but I've been playing catch up here. I've been listening to only female comedians. And while I am a bit behind, I am making sure that I listen to at least 31 in a row. What's going to happen is I am actually going to end up running out of female comedians, which is a sorry state of affairs for my collection. So it's one of those things that I'm going to make up for by getting more, but I do have to burn through a big sausage party of records so that I can figure out what I can actually get rid of. I've been finding stuff to get rid of, which is actually kind of exciting. You collect and collect and collect, and you kind of think you're a museum until you realize, you know what? Indiana Jones is wrong, or maybe he was just more discerning, and we just saw every time that he really genuinely thought something belonged in a museum. I don't have the years on all these in front of me, but I have a general idea of when some of these were made. So we are going to start with, if I'm not mistaken, 1983's. Let's say it's 1983. Sure, it's 1983. Yeah, there we are. Joan Rivers, What Becomes a Semi-Legend Most. Now, I discussed this before when I listened to her first album. She had such a good career, she only had to do two. But what's so much fun listening to this is, also I think she does a few bits between the two. It's like 18 years apart, these albums, 17, 18 years apart. And I don't know, it's just a ton of fun. There's like, I think, everybody's like, oh, Joan Rivers, such a mouth otter, so offensive. Again, 1983, she does one or two things that are off color, but I don't understand how anybody would ever honestly just think that there's anything more going on than her just being just a wise ass. That's really it. There's plenty about, having been married for as long as she has, but a ton of crowd work. This is so much crowd work. And, she does this thing where between every time she makes a joke, usually with the crowd work, she say, oh, shh. That's what she says. Oh, shh. And it sounds like a tick, and it could be, but it adds something. It adds a level to it. And this album is, like I said, 1983, and she talks about a lot of stuff in the news, including you'll see right there. There's the royal wedding of Chuck and Diana, and she talks about getting to meet the Queen and all these things that she did with and to the Queen, and just obvious bullshit. But she may have actually met the Queen. That wouldn't surprise me. But just the way she spoke to them. And I don't know. There's just something frank and fun about it. And you see why she ended up having this sort of secondary career as a commentator on fashion and stuff on TV, and just having an opinion. I mean, that was what her act was. She was just super opinionated. But like the laugh and everything and the atmosphere behind everything she does was just, I don't know. It's pretty joyful. I don't know where this like sort of snark, this perception of snark came from. She definitely put that on when she was on TV later on, but there's not that much snark. She's just a smart ass, but snark is a different thing. So it feels like something where people misinterpreted her, saw what they wanted, and then she had to create a TV character out of it. This next one, I apologize, we're going to go through pretty quickly. This is the original Funny Girl, Fanny Brice, the songs that she made famous. Sings the songs she made famous. They're fine, what I could understand of them. The quality of this record is not great. This is from the 70s, I think, and, it's reproductions of very old recordings of Fanny Brice doing, a lot of Yiddish comedy. And I just frankly couldn't understand absolutely everything she sang. What I understood seemed very funny, but it is one of those situations where I'm going to fully admit it's a little beyond me. I'd rather just go watch Funny Girl again, because I love Funny Girl, and I'll bet there's some things in there that I can understand, because Barbra Streisand wasn't, covered by, years and layers of dust. She was a great lady. Funny Girl is a great movie anyway. But I'm sure it's great. I wish obviously a huge influence, so I wish I could have understood more the music. So I might have mentioned this last time, I was gifted a bunch of Rusty Warren albums to fill out my, so to speak, my collection. Almost there. Actually, I have almost all of her albums now. And the next one is going to be more Knockers Up, which is, I did have to write this down, 1965. Love this cover. It's so joyous and joyful. She's actually got, she has drumsticks, sort of drumsticks or something painted on, like drawn in her hands, which is great. I really, like, just looking at this energy, she's got, like, a similar smile to this on the front of most of her albums. I would have loved to see her perform live. She still smiles like that, and this is why, you know, there's joie de vivre that comes with being Rusty Warren, I think. But so this one seems to be, and there's I am finally getting to see where she mixes material here and there, repeats a song. It's never performed exactly the same way. The material's never performed in the exact same order or anything. She'll repeat some stuff, or she'll repeat some themes. But this one opens and seems to sort of follow the theme of instructions for young lovers. And actually, the one we follow, which is much later, also seems to have a similar theme, but in a different way. But it's for young lovers. She does it. There's this kind of evolutionary track of the way she speaks about love and sex, and the way women learn about sex, the way men learn about sex, and the way, you know, at least heterosexual couples interact sexually, socially, all that stuff. And this is very much for young lovers, and just reminding them about, you know, the different things that you can do. It's hard now, having listened to all of hers, to give any super specific feedback on it. You know, not that she needs feedback, but to give you much of a review beyond, I like all of Rusty Warren's albums so far. They're all great. I could never not recommend a Rusty Warren album at this point, and I'm going to make a separate project of listening to them all in order. It just happened I didn't have them all, so now you're listening to me sort of babble on about the ones that I do have. But it's fun. It's a ton of fun. The energy that is there, and great to have any notes about any specific jokes. Not in this one, but on the next one I do. So this is more Knockers Up. This is 1965. So let's skip ahead 9 years, which, let me see where this one's recorded. I'm trying to see if she was in Vegas yet here. I would imagine if she wasn't in Vegas yet, she was very, very, very close. Let's see. Well, either way. Also, the same smile. Great. Good stuff. And yeah, this is 1974, and she starts out talking about how many virgins they have in the audience. Virgins being people who've never seen Rusty Warren live. That's something I've never pointed out before, because it took me a while to notice. She refers to herself in the third person in all these albums, and I really, really like that. There's something about that. There's no ego about it. It's just very, very, very funny. But it also adds this perception of this air of authority to her, which I think she should have anyway, but it kind of adds to the way she comes across on stage. This album, she doesn't do as much singing. It's a lot more talk singing. And, you know, it's just, you know, you get older, sometimes your voice is not necessarily there. So it's a lot more talk singing, but she's also got a beautiful speaking voice. So it comes across wonderfully. But yeah, she talks about the virgins. People have never seen the show. But now she's at a point, this is 74, so it's 13 years later, just at the right time where she can make plenty of jokes about the fact, it's probably true, that these kids heard their parents talking about Rusty Warren and wanted to see what it was like for themselves. And so she gets to talk about that, which is a lot of fun. I also haven't mentioned that she always does all these jokes about, you know, knockers up, bounce your boobies, and she really likes to make something of the fact that she's, at least in her eyes, fairly flat-chested, and just like that's you know, any good comic knows, you know, make sure that you're the butt of the joke at least part of the time. And that's where hers comes across. You know, she's just saying, you know, I don't have enough, but sweetheart, you got nothing to worry about. Like, it's this extra boost of confidence to the people in the audience. Let's see, let's see, and then yeah. So this one, she ends with everything is beautiful. Oh, there's my phone making a noise. Everything is beautiful, and it's folk sung, but it's great. It's so sweet, and it's so incredibly sincere. In earlier albums, she was talking a bit like, she was just making the standard jokes. Oh, you can't tell the difference between the boys and girls nowadays, what with their hair. At this point, she's already fallen into it. She's like, you know what? Who cares? She's very much like, let people love each other. And it's, this one, again, this is lays it on the line, if I didn't mention it, is just, I don't know, it's very sweet and genuinely inspiring, because if you're listening to her other albums, they fall into a pattern. This one falls into a similar pattern, but just the level of inspiration I think that you get from each one as they go on. I don't know, it's great, and it's something different every time. You're hearing her learn something new about the world here, at least for herself, and at the same time, she's always trying to get that point across that just don't be ashamed. And I love that. I love that about Rusty Warren. I take her stuff very seriously, and maybe I shouldn't, because, you're supposed to enjoy comedy as it is. But I also have to, given the next album. Now, here's this full disclosure. I buy a lot of albums, assuming they're comedy. And this next one was a mistake, thinking it was comedy, but it is by a comedian. And if you look at the cover, and if you look at the videos, it seems clearly she's having some fun. Well, she's having fun just making a great pop album. It's Tracey Ullman's You Broke My Heart in 17 Places. Which, it's a funny title. All the images on here are very silly because she's a funny woman, but this is just a straight 50s, 60s style pop album with a lot of covers on it as well, and it's great. I can't say a lot about it comedically, except for the fact that, They Don't Know is a really great song, and I can't say anything about it comedically unless you want to talk about it in terms of the music video. You Broke My Heart in 17 Places. 17 is a funny number. That's about it. But what I can talk about is how much Tracey Ullman is a damn genius. And it speaks a lot to the fact that she can make such good comedy and then go ahead and just make this comedy album or this music album and just bang it out. And it seems perfect. 1983, same year as Joan Rivers' album. Interesting for perspective there. It's a delight. It's so good. It's really, really fun. It's a great pop album. So that's my mistake for thinking it's a comedy album, but she is a comedian. I'm going to count it. And, I'm going to do more. Next, I have been waiting for such a long time because I knew about Sophie Tucker, but specifically having Rusty speak about Sophie Tucker and, if I'm not mistaken, having met her a few times and being inspired by her. This is Sophie Tucker's, this is in bad shape, my record of it, Cabaret Days. This is from the 50s. I do not have the year, my apologies. Sophie Tucker at this point, was years beyond her prime in terms of inspiring music and, to and naughty songs. These are just so incredibly innocent. I love the further back we go. I didn't even say that Fanny Bryce's, the ones I could hear, they're just cute. They're just cute at the worst. And these are just a little adventurous. And, Sophie Tucker's doing this stuff in the 10s and the 20s, and here she's at an age where she's getting to revisit her own career, and it's a lot of fun. I'm pretty sure this is a studio album with canned reactions in it. I could be wrong, but they're not very strong reactions. They do sound like generic kind of nightclub noise. I could be completely wrong here, but they don't seem like that to me. Probably the best. There are a couple songs on here that are, again, they follow in the same theme of Rusty Warren, where she would use herself as the butt of the joke to talk about something that's maybe a little more serious, whether people realize it or not. So the one song is called "Nobody Loves a Fat Girl," which is a sad song, but she makes it funny. And it's just about the plight of being a person who's overweight. The best song on here though is "I'm Living Alone and I Like It," which is. Let's see. I wish I knew what year that song came out, but it is a super empowering song that sounds as the title goes. It's "I'm living alone and I like it," and there's a lot of things where she's talking about. Well, I'm living my own life. This is me doing this. You can't make me do anything. Like, it's quite clear what she's saying there. You cannot push me around. You can't force me to do anything. I'm my own person. Screw off. And it's great. It's great just for that, and also she's got this little attitude that I think you normally might attribute to like a Mae West or something, who we will get to later. You might attribute to like a Mae West, or just there's some attitude where she's singing in it, and she's making a point, and I love it. It's worth it for that song. And so the final album of tonight. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is number 7. This is Gilda Radner live from New York. This is the album. That meant that Paul Schaefer could not be in Blues Brothers, which is just a side note, obviously, because it's Gilda damn Radner. There's a lot of great stuff on here, including different characters from SNL, including Rosanna Dana, Lisa Loopner, her nerdy character. There's, let's see, she got Candy Slice and the Slicers, which is very much Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. This is 1979. And then, boy, oh boy, maybe the best song, because it's very musical. I think the best one for me is the opening one, but that's because I'm a crude idiot, and that's Let's Talk Dirty to the Animals. And that's all it is, her swearing at animals, and it's so damn funny. Her energy, anybody I would recommend should read Gene Wilder's Kiss Me Like a Stranger. That's his autobiography. If you want to get a little bit into the head of Gilda Radner, and then you listen to this, and it's like, it's not, you could take it in a way where you'd be sad and, oh, she's so desperate for attention. That's not what's happening. She's incredibly talented and just had a lot of energy. But you do get like a little peek behind the curtain in Gene Wilder's book. This energy is ridiculous. Candy Slice and the Slicers is just solid rock, really good rock, including a song called Gimme Mick that is just about finding Mick Jagger sexy, but not entirely sure why, and not sure what he looks like, and trying to figure him out. And there's a mix of Rosanna Dana is giving a speech to a graduating class. All funny characters. Song called Touch Me With My Clothes On. There's just a lot of wonderful good stuff on here. But specifically, I really love Let's Talk Dirty to the Animals. It's a very simple song. It's a very funny song. And it's very Gilda Radner. Yeah, I don't know. These are the 7 albums that I'm almost caught up here. Getting there. I have a number more to do. I'm in fact ripping and converting some of them right now. So I hope you enjoyed that. 17 minutes. I know it's a lot of albums to burn through, and I gave them all my due attention, but at this point, like, all my notes were just all over the place. So I do hope you enjoyed that. I recommend giving those a listen. I can't specifically recommend Fanny Bryce because, again, I had so much trouble listening to them just audibly. If you would, subscribe here on YouTube. Subscribe to us on iTunes, the Comedy on Vinyl podcast. We just had 2 episodes come out last week. 2 I'm very proud of, actually. One's Tracey from Mystery Science Theater, where we talk about Monty Python. That was a ton of fun. And the other one is Katie Lee, who's the singer from Songs of Couch and Consultation and other things. She's also an activist and a badass, and she's 97, and she has more energy than half the 30-year-olds that I interview on the podcast. It was so much fun. It was by phone. Doesn't matter. It's one of my favorite episodes I've ever done. So I'd recommend checking that out at comedyonvinyl.com or on iTunes. Follow us at Comedy on Vinyl wherever you can. I did mention a drinking game earlier. Go to adrinkinggame.com or hunt us down on Facebook. If you're in New York City or Minneapolis, there's also drinking games there. But the one here in LA, we're the original. I've been doing it for almost 7 years now, and I think you would enjoy it. If you're a comedy person, come out and see us. We usually do it once a month here at the Acme Hollywood. Just a clue. Princess Bride was the month before. And yeah, well, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, have a good thing.